Have you ever walked into your kitchen in the morning, poured your coffee, grabbed a quick breakfast, and told yourself, I'm eating pretty healthy, while having no idea that the very first thing you put into your body might be quietly damaging your kidneys? Because here's the truth, most Americans never hear until it's too late. Kidney damage does not start in a hospital. It starts in your kitchen, and it starts silently. I'm Dr. Richard Hale. And after years of working with patients who thought they were doing everything right, I've seen how ordinary breakfast habits, the wrong protein, hidden phosphorus, too much sodium, blood sugar spikes before 9 a.m., slowly wear down the tiny filters inside your kidneys. And by the time symptoms appear, up to half of kidney function can already be gone. That's what makes this dangerous. You don't feel it happening. There's no alarm, no pain, just gradual damage building every single morning. But here's the part that should give you hope, because this is not about fear, it's about control. The same meal that can silently stress your kidneys can also become the most powerful protection you give them each day. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 4 simple morning foods. Foods you can find in any American grocery store that can help your body flush, waste more smoothly, stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and support your kidneys instead of working against them. And the last one might completely change the way you think about protein at breakfast. Now let's start with something that surprises almost everyone I talk to. In clinic, cheese is not automatically the enemy the type of cheese is. When most people hear kidney health, they immediately think they need to cut out all dairy, all flavor, all enjoyment. But the real issue isn't cheese itself. It's phosphorus overload, and that's where most breakfast habits quietly go wrong. Here's what many Americans don't realize. When kidney function begins to decline even slightly, your body loses its ability to efficiently remove excess phosphorus from the blood. And phosphorus doesn't just sit there harmlessly. It binds with calcium, hardens blood vessels, weakens bones, and forces the kidneys to work even harder to maintain balance. This isn't dramatic. It's gradual. It's silent. And it often starts with everyday foods like aged cheddar Parmesan or heavily processed cheese spreads that are packed with hidden phosphorus additives. I remember a patient, Mark, 58 years old, former construction supervisor, thought he was eating high protein and healthy every morning. Whole grain toast, thick slices of cheddar, sometimes processed cheese slices for convenience. His labs slowly crept up over 3 years. His phosphorus levels weren't dangerous at first, just slightly elevated. But that slight elevation repeated every single day compounded over time. When we adjusted just one thing, swapping aged cheese for small portions of plain cream cheese within months, his labs stabilized. Not because cream cheese is magical, but because it reduced the mineral burden his kidneys were fighting every morning. Let's talk numbers, because numbers matter. 1 tablespoon of plain cream cheese, about 14 grams, contains roughly 20 to 30 milligrams of phosphorus. Compare that to many aged hard cheeses that can contain 2 to 4 times that amount per serving. That difference repeated daily becomes significant. Cream cheese also contains around 40 to 50 milligrams of sodium, 20 to 30 milligrams of potassium, and only about 1 gram of protein. It's not a protein powerhouse, and that's actually the point. It acts as a controlled lower phosphorus topping instead of a mineral-heavy main component. Now let me be clear, this is not a load up on cream cheese message. Portion size is everything. 1 thin tablespoon spread over low sodium, whole grain, or sourdough toast is enough. You're not trying to build a thick layer, you're creating balance. And balance is the algorithm your kidneys understand best. What makes this powerful isn't the creaminess, it's the swap. It's choosing plain over flavored versions, which often hide extra sodium and preservatives. It's reading labels and avoiding phosphate additives, those ingredients ending in -fate that silently increase mineral load. It's pairing that small spread with sliced cucumber, blueberries, or thin apple slices, so you're adding fiber and antioxidants, not more stress. That fiber slows glucose absorption. Stable glucose means less damage to the tiny filtration units called nephrons. And when nephrons aren't constantly inflamed, your kidneys can actually do their job. Think of your kidneys like high-efficiency water filters. If you pour clean water through them, they last. If you pour mineral sludge through them every morning, they clog faster. And most people don't realize their breakfast is mineral sludge in disguise. Here's something important I want you to think about. This isn't about perfection. It's about reducing cumulative stress. Kidney damage rarely comes from one meal. It comes from small daily overloads, repeated, normalized, unnoticed. Swapping aged cheese for a controlled portion of plain cream cheese may seem minor, but over weeks, over months, over years, those small mineral reductions compound into protection. And I want to ask you something directly. Have you ever looked at the phosphorus content of the cheese in your fridge? Most people haven't. Drop a comment and tell me what you usually eat in the morning, because awareness is the first step in control. But here's the deeper layer most people miss. Lowering phosphorus is only one piece of the morning equation. You can control minerals perfectly and still damage your kidneys if your blood sugar spikes aggressively right after breakfast. And that spike doesn't come from cheese, it comes from something even more common on the American table. And this is where it gets interesting, because the next factor isn't about dairy at all. It's about the kind of bread you choose, and it may be quietly sabotaging everything you think you're doing right. But simply knowing this about cream cheese isn't enough, because there is another factor even more dangerous waiting in your morning routine. Now let's talk about the part almost nobody suspects: your bread. Because you can lower phosphorus perfectly, choose the right dairy, control sodium, and still damage your kidneys every single morning if your blood sugar spikes like a roller coaster before 9 a.m. This is where whole rye bread becomes more than just a healthy carb. It becomes a stability tool. Here's the hard truth. High blood sugar is one of the fastest ways to silently injure the tiny blood vessels inside your kidneys. Those microscopic filters called nephrons depend on stable circulation. When glucose surges sharply after a refined white bread breakfast, it triggers inflammation, oxidative stress, and increased pressure inside those delicate vessels. Over time, that constant pressure weakens them. You don't feel it, but your kidneys do. I remember a woman named Linda, 62 years old, pre-diabetic, but not on insulin. Every morning she ate what she believed was light, 2 slices of white toast with jam and a little butter. Nothing extreme, but her fasting glucose numbers kept creeping up, and her A1C slowly climbed year after year. When we replaced her white toast with 1 slice of true 100% whole, rye bread, added protein, and reduced the portion, something changed. Within 4 months, her morning glucose swings became more stable, and her kidney markers stopped worsening. Not because bread is magic, but because fiber changes the metabolic equation. 1 slice of whole rye bread, about 28 grams, typically provides around 2 grams of fiber, roughly 3 grams of protein, about 70 to 100 milligrams of potassium, and 50 to 70 milligrams of phosphorus, depending on the brand. But the real hero isn't the minerals, it's the fiber. Fiber slows carbohydrate absorption. Instead of glucose rushing into your bloodstream like a flash flood, it enters gradually. That steady rise means less insulin surge, less vascular stress, and less micro damage to kidney filtration units. And here's something important most people overlook. Kidney health and heart health are deeply connected. When blood sugar is unstable, it damages endothelial cells, the lining of blood vessels throughout the body. That includes the vessels supplying your kidneys. So stabilizing blood sugar isn't just about preventing diabetes. It's about preserving blood flow to the organs that keep you alive. But not all rye bread is created equal. This is where marketing tricks people. Many products labeled rye are actually refined flour with coloring added. The front label looks healthy, but the ingredient list tells the truth. You want to see 100% whole rye as the first ingredient. You want lower sodium, ideally closer to 120 milligrams per slice, rather than 200 or more. Reading labels may not feel exciting, but it's one of the most powerful kidney protective habits you can develop. Now imagine your kidneys as a high-performance engine. If every morning you pour in fast-burning fuel that explodes too quickly, you create friction and wear. Whole rye bread acts like slow-release energy. It reduces the metabolic turbulence that slowly scars filtration tissue. And this matters more than people realize, because repeated glucose spikes are cumulative. They don't disappear at noon. They compound. Let me ask you something directly. Do you know what your blood sugar does after your typical breakfast? Most people don't. And yet that invisible spike could be shaping your kidney health for the next decade. If you've ever felt a mid-morning crash, sleepy at 10:30, reaching for more coffee or sugar, that's often the rebound from a sharp rise and fall in glucose. Drop a comment if you've experienced that. I read them and I want to know what your mornings look like. The strategy here is simple but powerful. 1 slice of true whole rye bread. Pair it with controlled protein like egg whites or a modest spread of plain cream cheese. Add fiber-rich fruit in moderation. Keep portions intentional. The goal isn't carb elimination, it's blood sugar stability. And stability is protective. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: you can eat healthy and still trigger harmful spikes if you don't understand how your body processes carbohydrates. Whole rye gives you control. It shifts your morning from metabolic chaos to metabolic balance. And balance is what your kidneys need most. But even perfect blood sugar control isn't enough if your body starts the day dehydrated. You can stabilize glucose, manage minerals, and still overload your kidneys if there isn't enough fluid to flush waste efficiently. And that brings us to something deceptively simple, something most people think is just a summer fruit. But simply knowing this isn't enough, because there is another factor even more dangerous, quietly shaping your kidney health. Now let's address something almost too simple, and that's exactly why people underestimate it: hydration. You can control phosphorus, you can stabilize blood sugar, but if your body starts the morning even slightly dehydrated, your kidneys are forced to work harder to concentrate waste. And that's where watermelon quietly becomes powerful. Watermelon is about 92% water. 1 cup, roughly 150 grams, contains around 45 calories, about 170 milligrams of potassium, almost no phosphorus, and just 2 milligrams of sodium. That combination matters. Proper hydration reduces the concentration load on your kidneys, allowing them to flush toxins through urine more efficiently instead of straining under thick concentrated waste. I had a patient, Carlos, 64, who complained of morning fatigue and dark urine. He wasn't drinking enough water early in the day, and his labs showed mild but consistent kidney stress. We added a simple change: 1 measured cup of fresh watermelon in the morning alongside his balanced breakfast. Within weeks, his hydration markers improved and his urine color normalized. It wasn't dramatic, it was steady, and steady progress protects kidneys. Watermelon also contains lycopene, a powerful antioxidant shown in nutrition research to reduce oxidative stress, one of the hidden accelerators of kidney decline. Lower oxidative stress means less cellular damage over time. But here's the critical detail portion: control. 1 cup is smart. 3 or 4 can overload potassium, especially in advanced kidney disease. Precision protects. Hydration is foundational, but hydration alone cannot shield your kidneys from inflammation triggered by the wrong protein source. And that brings us to the most decisive choice of all, the one that could influence whether your kidneys stay resilient or slowly deteriorate. But simply knowing this isn't enough, because there is another factor even more dangerous. And now we arrive at the most misunderstood part of the American breakfast: protein. Because if there is one decision that can either protect your kidneys for the next decade or quietly accelerate their decline, it's the type of protein you choose in the morning. And this is where salmon changes the game. Most people think high protein automatically means healthy. But kidneys don't judge by marketing. They respond to inflammation, mineral load, and metabolic stress. Red meats, processed breakfast meats, sausage, bacon, they create inflammatory byproducts, increase acid load, and often contain hidden sodium and phosphate preservatives. Over time, that combination increases intraglomerular pressure, the stress inside your kidney's filtration units. Salmon is different. Wild-caught salmon provides roughly 17 to 22 grams of high-quality protein per 3-ounce serving, around 180 to 200 calories, minimal phosphorus additives, when fresh, and most importantly, omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. These aren't trendy buzzwords. They are clinically studied anti-inflammatory molecules shown to reduce systemic inflammation and improve vascular function. Let me tell you about Robert, 66 years old, early-stage chronic kidney disease, borderline high blood pressure. Every weekend, he enjoyed bacon and sausage. During the week, processed deli meats. His kidney numbers were slowly drifting downward, not dramatically, but steadily. We didn't eliminate protein. That would have worsened muscle loss. Instead, we replaced 3 of his weekly red meat breakfasts with baked salmon, lightly seasoned, no heavy sauces. 6 months later, his inflammatory markers dropped. His blood pressure improved. His kidney function stabilized. Here's the physiology most people never hear. Your kidneys filter about 180 liters of fluid per day. Every molecule of waste from protein metabolism passes through them. The equation is simple. When protein is inflammatory and paired with high sodium, that filtration load becomes damaging. But when protein is anti-inflammatory and portion-controlled, the load becomes manageable. Omega-3s in salmon reduce glomerular inflammation and may help slow structural damage in early kidney disease, according to multiple nephrology reviews. Now let's address something important. This is not about eating massive portions, 3 ounces, about the size of a deck of cards, grilled, baked, or lightly pan-seared in olive oil. No sugary glaze. No teriyaki drowning in sodium. Precision matters. Excess protein, even healthy protein, still increases filtration demand. And here's something most people ignore. Muscle mass protects kidney patients. If you undereat protein, you lose muscle. When muscle declines, insulin sensitivity worsens. Blood sugar rises, inflammation increases, it becomes a vicious cycle. Salmon gives you what I call clean protein leverage, enough to maintain muscle without overwhelming filtration capacity. Let me ask you directly, how many times a week do you eat processed breakfast meat? Be honest with yourself. Because what feels like a small habit can determine long-term kidney resilience. There's another layer here. Omega-3 fatty acids also support endothelial health, the lining of your blood vessels. And remember what we discussed earlier. Kidneys are essentially dense networks of tiny blood vessels. Protect the vessels, protect the kidneys. It's that interconnected. But here's the part most viewers don't expect. The biggest risk isn't eating unhealthy protein once. It's normalization. It's repetition. It's decades of the same inflammatory breakfast pattern. That's how dialysis doesn't start in a hospital, it starts in a kitchen. And I need you to hear this clearly. Salmon is not a cure. It is a strategic substitution. One powerful shift inside a larger pattern of metabolic stability, controlled phosphorus, stable glucose, proper hydration, and anti-inflammatory protein. If you combine everything we've discussed, measured cream cheese to reduce phosphorus, whole rye, to stabilize glucose, watermelon, to support hydration, and salmon to deliver anti-inflammatory protein, you create what I call a kidney smart morning framework. Not extreme, not restrictive, sustainable, but simply knowing this still isn't enough, because information without action changes nothing. And in the final moments of this video, I'm going to show you how to combine these 4 foods into a realistic, repeatable breakfast strategy that could determine whether your kidneys remain resilient or slowly decline over the next 10 years. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Your kidneys are not fragile, they are responsive. They respond to what you do every single morning. They respond to small decisions. They respond to patterns. And the beautiful part is that it doesn't take extreme diets or expensive supplements to protect them. It takes awareness. It takes intention. It takes choosing cream cheese over processed slices, whole rye over refined white bread, a measured cup of watermelon over dehydration, salmon over inflammatory breakfast meats. These are not dramatic changes, but repeated daily, they become powerful. I know how overwhelming health information can feel. There's noise everywhere, conflicting advice, fear-based headlines. But protecting your kidneys is not about panic, it's about consistency. And if you've watched this far, that tells me something important. You care about your future. You care about your energy, your independence, your quality of life 10 years from now. That already puts you ahead of most people. So here's what I encourage you to do next. Save this video. Literally tap save so you can revisit these 4 principles when you're planning your grocery list. Share it with someone you love, a parent, a spouse, a friend, who always says, my labs are just slightly off. And if you want clear, practical medical guidance explained in a way that actually makes sense, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. I post evidence-based insights designed to help you protect your kidneys, your heart, and your long-term health without the hype. Because here's the truth, kidney decline is not inevitable. It is influenced. And every morning you wake up, you get another opportunity to influence it in your favor. Small choices, repeated daily. That's how resilience is built. Take care of your kidneys and they will take care of you for years to come.